Hi, I'm your host, Dr. J.R. Reagan. In this episode, we'll be discussing South Korea's strategy for protecting its growing technology infrastructure as it enters the fourth industrial revolution. South Korea will push forward a comprehensive strategy to strengthen its national cybersecurity by 2022, the Science Ministry said recently, to better cope with the emergence of the 5G hyper-connected world. Amid rising international tensions in cyberspace and a greater security exposure caused by the spread of 5G networks, South Korea needs a set of steps to protect its national interest, according to the Ministry of Science and ICT. The ministry said that foremost among its goals is protecting its key cyber infrastructure by overhauling the security environment to make it more survivable and improve its restoration capability in the event of disruption. The National Cybersecurity Plan, a follow-up to the state strategy unveiled by the National Security Office, was crafted by 9 government ministries with input from private companies and experts. The ministry said it plans to improve national backup infrastructure and inspect 5G and cloud-related facilities more closely so they can withstand cyber attacks. These steps should lead to growth in smart factories in cities, self-driving vehicles, and health-related services that rely heavily on security and a safe network. As Asia's 4th largest economy, South Korea will create a joint cyber attack response arrangement comprising the government, private sector, and the military to detect in advance any threats and to respond to such dangers in a swift and decisive manner. The country will also create a comprehensive governance structure to facilitate the sharing of information and devise ways to ensure smooth cooperation among various actors to safeguard and support the country's cyber domain. South Korea's ICT ministry said it will spend 670 billion Korean won, which is about $607 million by 2023, to bolster the country's cybersecurity capabilities to respond to growing new digital threats. The Ministry of Science and ICT said it will develop infrastructure to quickly respond to cybersecurity threats by working with major cloud and data center companies to collect threat information in real time, compared to the current system that relies on individual reporting. Such threats will be quickly notified to companies, and the ministry plans to provide security patches by working with security companies across industries. The ministry also said it will expand the size of cyber threat information that it gathers to include those from major social networking services, the dark web, and virtual services such as remote education and digital healthcare. The ICT ministry also said it will de-identify any personal or sensitive information to address concerns of user information being abused. It said it hopes to reduce the rate of information security violations experienced by local companies to less than 1.5% by 2023, compared with 2% last year. To accelerate the private sector's adoption of digital services, the ICT ministry said it will also conduct security checks and introduce security solutions to 1,300 small and medium-sized companies every year. South Korea ranked 15th in the Global Security Index in 2018 by the International Telecommunication Union, a United Nations agency. The ministry said it hopes to raise its rank to 5th place by 2023. In recent years, the number of cyber threats and cyber attacks has risen dramatically across the globe. In response, investing in more advanced cybersecurity measures has become a crucial component of the national security strategies of many countries. New advances in technology carry many opportunities, but also have the potential to bring instability to current international security dynamics, highlighted most clearly by the ongoing debate around the rollout of 5G. 5G network architecture uses a high-frequency spectrum to accelerate the transmission of data over shorter distances compared to 4G LTE technology. Even though it will bring many benefits, this new infrastructure is also more liable to cybersecurity attacks. The network's high volume and speed will strain real-time security monitoring aimed at stopping cyber threats. Cybersecurity has been increasingly prioritized in South Korea's national security strategy. The country's cyberspace is particularly at risk because the country does not possess a well-developed defense-offense cyber capability, which has been proven over the last few years, though it has been subject to a plethora of cyber attacks aimed at critical infrastructure. Over the years, South Korea has attempted to adapt to the changing arena of cybersecurity with an increase of its investments in this field, as well as upgrading its response capabilities to confront various sources, types, and intensities of cyber attacks. In response to this changing cybersecurity landscape and to continue the rollout of 5G wireless networks in South Korea, a state-run Electronics and Telecommunications Research Institute, or ETRI, said it will come up with extra security systems. ETRI said it will focus on developing technology to detect cybersecurity threats in the edge network and multi-access edge computing in 5G. The existing 4G network provides internet services through a centralized core network, which means security management is relatively simple, but 5G is vulnerable to elevated security threats, partly because of its connection to a huge number of connected devices, including the Internet of Things through which adversaries can attack. The multi-access edge computing refers to a network architecture that allows for a cloud-based IT service environment at the edge of a network, enabling real-time and low-latency access to radio network information. The demand for security convergence is on the rise, as fourth industrial revolution factors such as smart factories, smart cities, and 5G commercialization urges communities to form a more connected society. This concept of a more connected society also applies to physical and cybersecurity, which makes the boundary between those two even harder to define. The government in South Korea is planning to create the world's 5G plus strategy, which includes cybersecurity, and introduces and develops the 10 essential strategies as well as a demonstration of the 5 main services of 5G technology. This will demonstrate the government's strong initiative in obtaining global competitiveness through advanced 5G technology with the introduction of cybersecurity. The development of AI, deep learning technology, big data, IoT, and ICT all contribute to the convergence of physical and cybersecurity, where AI and intelligent surveillance are the main sectors. Intelligent surveillance systems made its appearance in 2010 using movement and rule set-based pattern analysis. However, the system's reliability was often very low with false positives. The video analysis error rate reached up to 28%, in which the system was incapable of adapting to various environmental changes. Despite its shortcomings, the system is now improving rapidly as deep learning technologies continue to evolve. A good example of this is the facial recognition system, which is now almost as accurate as the human eye at the accuracy rate of 95%, demonstrating the convergence of physical and cybersecurity. However, as the hyper-connected society draws near, the defense system against cyber attacks is also being enhanced. Starting off with the commercialization of 5G technology, concrete actions are being taken in order to form a new security infrastructure. The Korea Ministry of Science and ICT has indicated cyber attacks are threatening the real world, in which information, communication, and network-based attacks are paralyzing systems, extorting personal information, and reaching the stage where even wrecking the economy is possible. But as cybersecurity is being enhanced, privacy is also being enhanced as well. In recent years, South Korea has become synonymous with some of the strictest data protection laws and regulatory requirements in the Asia region. The laws are regulated by the Korea Communications Commission, or KCC, the Ministry of the Interior and Safety, MOIS, and other sector-specific supervisory authorities. Recent amendments to data and privacy laws have resulted in stricter penalties, as well as criminal prosecution for data security breaches. In one example in 2020, the Seoul Eastern District Court found the privacy officer of a South Korean travel agency guilty of negligence for failing to prevent a 2017 data security breach. The security breach affected over 465,000 agency customers and roughly 29,000 agency employees. The charge against the company and its privacy officer hinged on the failure to provide appropriate technical and administrative measures, which could have prevented data breaches and facilitated timely notification to the appropriate Korean regulator. The Korean court imposed a penalty of 10 million South Korean won against the privacy officer, in addition to 327 million Korean won imposed against the company by the Ministry of Interior and Safety. Beyond the fines, the Korean prosecutor's office had requested an 8-month prison sentence against the privacy officer, which the Korean court decided not to impose. 2 other similar cases were filed against a Korean cryptocurrency company, as well as against a hotel booking application. In both cases, the company's privacy officers are being prosecuted for their failure to implement a proper technical and administrative measures under the Network Act in the context of data security breaches. The Network Act makes it mandatory for information and communication service providers, both domestic and those located overseas, who meet certain conditions to designate a local agent to handle matters related to personal information and data protection requirements, like a privacy officer. Information and communication service providers are broadly defined to include any person or entity that provides information or mediates the flow of information through a telecommunication network. This broad definition essentially encompasses all companies that engage in online business, and even those that provide information or services, like hosting a website through the telecommunication network. While the mandate of having a local privacy officer is not unusual, the potential for civil and criminal liability in Korea for privacy officers has drawn public attention. As South Korea enters the 4th Industrial Revolution, its strategy for protecting its growing technology infrastructure, data, and privacy will be continually tested. A key component of the future and a rapidly moving, hyper-connected world. That's all for this week's show. Follow me on Twitter or LinkedIn at Idea Explorer or my website ideaexplorer.com. Feel free to leave comments or suggestions about the show and tune in next week for more news and trends about Korea technology.